Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Insecure Season 5, Episode 6, Tired, okay? Review. Alright, so you know how I do it. Not in a linear order, but more focused on the characters. So, yeah, the main one in this one was really Issa's, still had the Molly story, but I'm gonna start with the Molly story. Because she's in an interesting position. She's at this conference with members of her firm, but she's still concerned about her mother. That's how we see her. She's on the phone checking with her mom and, family and everything and seeing what's going on. Her mom is still in that coma. So, of course, but then she still has to make her money. And that's understandable. And we're going to get a little bit into that later. And, after they didn't show their first presentation, her and her firm, but they showed them later at a lounge. And she's just chilling with them. And she's still, I thought that, she's still concerned about her family, but, they sitting there having fun. And one thing about it, and this is a bigger issue, we see it kind of a different side of them, especially of that brother she's always getting into it with, Taurean, because we kind of see him, he's presented as this, stiff, bougie type of brother, but we see a little bit more of him. And what that made me think of was a double consciousness that Black professionals will have. If you see them on the job, even if it's an all-Black firm or business or something, but especially if they're in a corporate environment where they are a definite minority, you're going to see one side of them. But then, and even in their speech intonations, but then when it's among, a more closed group, more relaxed, you see more of them. And I peeped earlier, you kind of saw that Taurean wasn't as stiff as he presented. And like I said, that whole double consciousness thing, that's a whole other conversation. The last time I remember that was really presented was in that Spike Lee movie from 1991, Jungle Fever, when Wesley Snipes, when he was with his people, he was at his job, he spoke a certain way, but then when he was around Spike and everything, he spoke another way. That's a bigger discussion, bigger than really a simple review. So anyway, the next scene with Molly, she's waking up in bed with some Skittles and a man's watch in the bed. And I was looking at it, I was like, well, she got a man? No, it's just her and some Skittles and a watch. And she didn't know how they got there. But then she meets her coworkers at brunch and she tries to play off how she found the watch. She said, she found it near her room. But it turned out it belonged to Taurean. And he assured her nothing happened, but they had a video of her being drunk and twerking in front of Taurean. Talking about Molly time. That's probably how she got the watch. And that was interesting. She's still Molly. Everything going on, she's still Molly. She still got that wild side. And then the next scene it was Molly and Taurean. They were giving a presentation, but Molly's phone kept buzzing. It was her brother calling. And she's concerned, rightfully so, about her mom and everything. And Taurean had to carry it. He picked up on it and carried it. And this was an important scene later. They were later just the two of them at a lounge, and Molly was telling Taurean about her mother. And he was very supportive. And he was like, well, he had a situation before his older brother had cancer. And he offered his support. And it was like, all of a sudden there's a shift. Because usually they had an antagonistic relationship. It's early in the morning, y'all. Anyway, but he offered his support. So it was cool and everything. And it's like, you could tell there was kind of a shift in how they were interacting with each other. Very important. And then later on, she, after they had, their discussion, she's in a hotel room. She gets a call from her brother Curtis again. Her mom has opened her eyes and she's FaceTiming with her mom. Only issue was her mom couldn't speak. And that's usually a case with, especially an older person who has a stroke. If they have a really severe stroke, they might not be able to speak. In fact, she'll probably have to have a speech therapist, basically to make sure she can even swallow. So that's a deeper issue. It'd be interesting to see how they go with that. But her mother's eyes are open and she's able to talk. But then she gets a knock on the door. It's Taurean, and he has a swag bag from the firm's partners for her. And you know, Molly's happy. She gives Taurean a tight hug, and he's hugging her back tightly, like this is like cheek to cheek type of hug, very intimate. And then hugs him again tightly. And they showed both sides of the hug. It was like, oh, wow. But then they pulled it off. It was like they gave each other that look. And I'm like, And y'all know what I mean when I say that look. And the old Molly might have just had sex with him at the moment. But then they played it off, got all official and everything. And I'm gonna tell you what, just from a character perspective, Molly knows she gotta get more serious. And they showed a little bit more of Taurean in it. It was like he ain't quite, you could tell he got some hood in him. Maybe a tiny bit, because she mentioned something about her dog when they were in the lounge, her dog being named Flavor Flav, because he honestly said he didn't know she had a family, thought she was just a woman with a cat. Oof. We won't get into the cat thing, but you know, she was like, yeah, Flavor Flav, telling him who Flavor Flav was. He was like, I know who Flavor Flav is. So that's an interesting dynamic right there, because he could be a 92 climber as well. He could be, we don't know. Like I said, that double consciousness thing. Because, you know, we talk about the 92 octanes, but there's male and female. Shout out Master Teacher BGS, and you get a lot of men, particularly black men, who might climb up from maybe a lower economic status into the higher status, but they got to exercise a certain type of demeanor and everything. So, and I was like, wow, that's actually a good angle. I'm gonna see what they do with that. If they smart. If they were smart, they already filmed everything. They can see how that play out. They might be more alike than disalike. You know what I mean? So that's an interesting thing. But now on to the main event. Issa. Rom had to write this stuff down. Anyway, so it starts off, remember in the last episode, Issa saw Lawrence and Condola at the hospital, and Issa just walked off. That was the last scene. In the beginning scene, she walks and approaches them, right? And she's being real cool, and she's like, this don't have to be awkward and everything. She's looking at the baby looking at her like, who's this be? You know how babies be looking. All your fathers out there, parents watching this, you know, every now and then that baby get that look like. I was laughing. Oh man, my son said that look a few times. Anyway, when they were babies. But she's looking at him, and you know, everything cool. And then Condola said, hey, you want to hold him? And she holds the baby and everything. Then tosses the baby like a basketball into this laundry bin. And then kicks Condola. She flies back, and then she flexes at Lawrence. And then she's walking out, and it's like, I got something to say about this scene in a bit. But, you know, then it realizes she's daydreaming. She's in her, she's in her place, and she picks up her phone and she goes to Lawrence's IG, and she discovers that he's moved back to LA. So that's an interesting scene right there. That's an interesting scene. And the look on her face said, oh, she had a bit of happiness. She was just like, I don't know if I could duplicate that look. But then, and then the next scene, she's riding Nathan. And you could tell she wants Nathan to say he loves her. And he said, well, I love you riding me, you know? And you know what, let's get into sex coach Rom for a second. If your woman can talk while she having sex that coherently, no, they ain't, I don't know, that was something to do sex. But she wanted him, she really wanted him to say he loved her, and he didn't. He was just chilling. It was just some casual, you could tell it was just some casual stuff with him, right? Now let let me switch a bit, because Nathan is part of the story. We have a little, C story with him. Like the A story is definitely Issa, the B story is definitely Molly, but the C story is with Nathan real quick. So he's at his barber shop, he's cutting hair. There's a couple customers complaining that they've been waiting a while for this one barber. So Nathan offers to cut their hair. And I'm gonna tell you what, anybody who's in the barber field, that's a no-no. That is a no. Once you go to a barber shop, once you get that one barber, you stick with them. You stick with them. That's your customer, that's your money. But Nathan offered to cut it anyway. And then later on, the guy that they were complaining about, because this guy Shug, I mean, he'd be eating people's food, everything late. But the one thing about him is he was bringing in famous customers and everything. But then when he actually got there, he was like, and they were like paying a rent for their chairs. Shug was like, well, Nathan got it. Apparently he found out somebody else cut his client's hair. And then, they about to get into it. And, at one point, Shug called Nathan bipolar, crazy, bipolar. So, and that's going to come up later. That whole thing is going to come up later with Issa. Not necessarily the bipolar thing, but Nathan's reaction to that incident. So getting back to Issa, she's trying to work with another group. So her and her assistant, they go see this one group. I think they were called the Authoritative Collective, something like that. I forgot, I should have wrote down the name of it. My bad. Anyway, so they came, so they went to this other place and they were giving their presentation, wanted to work with them, wanted this group to be the face of that MBW group, the face. As her assistant say, not the neck, the face of the MBW group, the Nothing But Water group. And then they were, they found out, oh, what's the name of your group? The Block. Wait a minute, we've heard of that before. And then they were like, nah, we good. They didn't say it like that, but that same vibe, they just lost their interest and stuff. So Issa realized that issue she had with Crenshaw is still a problem. So she actually went to Crenshaw's plant with some brownies to clear the air. And Crenshaw was just like, she wanted that bag more than she wanted to work with the community. And he told her it was about integrity, even about how she responded, getting in his DMs and stuff. And she was like, that wasn't for him. He didn't want to do it. He thought she was about the community. She seemed like more about money. But then Issa's talking about what she was doing, all this stuff, and basically went for the money. And Crenshaw was like, And he questioned her integrity. In fact, he said she inspired him for a new sweatshirt, and it had integrity on it. I was like, that's going to come up later. That's going to come up later, right? So, she's at this food place. This food place, one of those you can walk up to on the sidewalk and get some food. I couldn't tell exactly what they were serving though. It's an LA thing. I ain't been to LA in a couple years. But she was getting food when Condola walks up. And, they're talking and stuff and, said, had something about Condola following Issa and everything. But then, they got the same taste. I was like, But then Condola purposely did this to show a big ass rock on her finger. Like better than some, mall ring that Lawrence had supposedly got Issa, right? And then she was like, yeah, she's engaged and he's making $1 billion a month. Okay, at that part I was like, oh Lord, they're gonna do this again. And then you say, oh, and his joint grew 2 inches. And she said, you know how you like that long stroke? It's longer now. And then even waiting for the food, they called Condola first, and Condola was like, yeah, that's how it works for winners, something like that, right? And, they came back with the food. Then Condola gave her a kick right into the trash. And of course, it was another daydream. And let me just say, just an editorial comment about that. One of the problems I do have, definite problems I had with Insecure this season, they were trying too hard with the comedy. It really did. They should have just You know, maybe call it a drama with some funny moments, which is cool. That's anything. But they were trying too hard with the comedy. But that scene did on another level. Like if you look at the two daydream scenes, what Issa deep down wanted to do with the baby, she was mad. She's like, Lawrence, this guy that she really wants. And you could tell when she came out of that daydream how her face looked. Like he's back in LA. This guy she really wanted. You know, he looking like he's happy or at least content or at least cool with his baby mama. Now, we don't know what the real extent of their relationship is. I guess at some point they'll let us know. So that was one thing, but then she was concerned like Condola is basically won out. Condola has won out, you know, so she's having all this and like hitting it on different levels. Engagement, making a lot of money. I think she said $1 billion a month. I was like, oh God. And then even getting more satisfied sexually. So she had that issue. Now that touches on a bigger thing with Issa, and then because that leads to the final scene. So she's at Nathan's place, and you know, after the incident with the barbershop, Nathan tells Issa, you know, him in LA, it might not be the right fit. But only thing Issa, she's more concerned about herself. You know, she's more concerned that Nathan hasn't said he loved her. And Nathan even called her out on that. He's like, you ain't even asking what's going on with me. It's like, you know, all she heard was like, oh, well, he didn't say he loved me. Oh, he's rolling. She ain't asking what's going on, what happened, what was said. It's more about her. And he calls her out for inconsistency. She said, look, you keep doing all this different stuff. And then, you know, they leave it at that. Now, if you look at the characters, like I said, I'm more concerned about the archetypes and what the characters represent in real life. Molly really just need to find the right guy. She need to find the right guy. She need to take things a bit more seriously. You know, she still got that wildness in her, but she need to really re-examine her life. I thought she was going to do that after the first episode, but then she's sleeping with random dudes. But what's happening with her mother and everything, she's looking at people. Now, Taurean might be a match for her. Because he was, if you look at their interactions over the past few seasons, you know, very brief, he wasn't putting up with shit from her. Might be that match. And that's actually something with a lot of professional women. They need that one guy who's gonna be like, especially 92s, black women professionals, they need that one guy like, man, sit your ass down. I ain't putting up with it. I ain't into him. You don't make more money than me and all of that. So we're gonna see how that goes. But then the Issa thing, it comes down to everything is Issa. Okay, like the thing with Crenshaw, she said one thing. He was trying to tell her, look, we need to stick with integrity. She more concerned about the money, like what she going through. Not thinking about what he's gone through, what she going through. Like her. Instead of thinking, hey, maybe she needed to stand up for it. Crenshaw thought they were on the same team. But she went more for the money, trying to cut him off, and he said, hell with that. So he questioned her integrity. And then the thing with Nathan, she started off the episode having, she having sex with her. All she want to hear from him is, I love you. And, she mad he ain't even discuss it and stuff. And then he going through something. She ain't say, well, what happened, baby? That should have been her. She's more like, oh, he didn't say he loved her. What happened, baby? That's a serious move if he's saying, look, she should have been like, hold up, tell me what happened. See, one of the things, and this is one of the reasons I review it, because it shows a real life thing. It shows a real life thing. You have a lot of relationships with women. And let's be real, this ain't just black women, but women, period, where they're more concerned about their needs, but not their mate's needs. She wanted to hear, I love you. She ain't saying, okay, what happened for him to say that? He was just on his job where somebody is going to bring up his issues that he's dealing with, a serious issue, being bipolar and all of that. I mean, this guy, they about to go to blows. And she ain't even asking, well, what happened? All she concerned about is this guy saying he loves her. And really, does she really love him? Or is she just trying to find like somebody to take the place of Lawrence? It's not a sincere relationship, in my opinion. He's somebody who's just there. He's a placeholder. Let's just be real. Even though they would probably on many levels make a great couple, he's just a placeholder. But she's more concerned about her. So that's the thing. When I'm looking at it, I'm looking at, okay, what does this represent in real life? What's happening in real life? And this is a major issue. This is a major issue. You know, you get one side, they want me. That's that little girl thing, instead of saying we. Instead of saying, okay, what's going on? That's all she had to do was say, as soon as he said he wanted to leave LA, her first words should have been like, what happened? Not like, oh, you didn't tell me you love me. He probably don't. But he going through some stuff. And he can't love her until he's dealing with his own issues. She need to find out. And plus, does she really love him, or he just a placeholder? Because the man she really want with another woman, she don't know the nature of their relationship yet. I want y'all to think about that. So anyway, that's all I got for this episode. It was pretty good. It gives you a lot to think about. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I'm gonna get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.